F1's own CEO just admitted the sport was willing to rewrite its rulebook just to keep Max Verstappen happy. Stefano Domenicali said it himself. Formula One wanted to go much further with the regulations, specifically to accommodate Verstappen's complaints.
It's not pure Formula One. If anything, I could tell you it's probably like Formula E on steroids.
And that admission landed in the middle of the most chaotic summer break of his career vacation photos, with a rival team boss, a private jet detour to Red Bull's own headquarters, and Toto Wolff refusing to rule him out for the future. 4 separate stories, all pointing the same direction. Let's go through every one of them, but before, if you want more updates and news on Max, then hit that like button and subscribe for more breakdowns. Quick rewind. Verstappen has been F1's loudest critic of the 2026 regulations all year, calling the racing a joke, comparing it to Mario Kart, saying the rules aren't helping the longevity of his career. For months, the sport's response was dismissive. Toto Wolff himself once said further rule changes were zero chance. Domenicali spent the spring insisting the criticism was noise and that fan numbers had never been higher. That was the official line for months. Max complains, the sport shrugs. Then, heading into the summer break, Domenicali said something that broke that pattern completely, and it happened at the exact moment Verstappen's contract situation was already the biggest story in the paddock. Here's exactly what Domenicali said, on record. Formula One had proposed further adjustments to the regulations changes, going far enough that, in Domenicali's own words, Verstappen would have been very happy with them. The reason they didn't happen: insufficient support from the teams and power unit manufacturers, not from Verstappen or Red Bull. Domenicali also said he expects Max to stay in the sport long term. Read that combination back. The CEO of Formula One is on record saying the governing body tried to change its own rulebook specifically to satisfy one driver's complaints, and that the plan only failed because other teams blocked it, not because anyone thought Verstappen was wrong. Here's my honest take. That's not a small quote. Governing bodies don't usually admit they nearly bent the rules for one person. The fact that Domenicali said it out loud tells you how much leverage Verstappen actually has right now, regardless of where he finishes in the standings. While that story was breaking, a second one was developing in Sardinia. For the second consecutive summer break, Max Verstappen has been photographed with Mercedes boss Toto Wolff on holiday, this time with their partners, Kelly Piquet and Susie Wolff, also present. The images show Wolff on a jet ski, Verstappen on an electric hydrofoil, and Verstappen stepping aboard a luxury yacht. It's not the first time this exact scene has played out. The same pairing was photographed together last summer too, and Verstappen brushed it off at the time, saying he was swimming in the ocean and didn't really care about those things, adding that plenty of people share the same island. That explanation held up once. It's a lot harder to wave off the same photo appearing 2 years running. Then came the jet. Flight tracking data showed Verstappen's private plane leaving his usual base near Monaco, stopping briefly in Sardinia, then flying directly to Salzburg, home of Red Bull's corporate headquarters, just 2 days after the Hungarian Grand Prix. The visit lined up with a meeting between Verstappen, his manager Raymond Vermeulen, Red Bull co-owner Mark Mateschitz, and CEO Oliver Mintzlaff. According to Bild, Red Bull has now offered Verstappen a new contract running through 2029 critically, one reported to contain no exit clause at all, unlike his current deal. My take on this one: a team doesn't offer a longer contract with the escape hatch removed unless they're genuinely worried about losing him. That's not a defensive move. That's Red Bull trying to close the door before Mercedes or anyone else gets the chance to open it. Okay, before we go any further, make sure you're smashing that hype button, because it's about to get a lot more insane. Wolff's prediction, which brings us to Wolff's own comments. Speaking to Sky, the Mercedes boss confirmed George Russell and Kimi Antonelli are expected to stay for 2027, but he refused to shut the door on Verstappen for the longer term. His exact words: "Mercedes is not afraid of having the two of them in the team at some point down the line. referring to a possible Verstappen-Antonelli pairing, while stressing the current lineup works well as things stand today. That's not a denial. That's a team principle, openly floating a future super team built around a driver from a rival garage, weeks after being photographed with him on vacation. In the same summer, Red Bull is offering him a contract specifically designed to stop that from happening. Put all four threads together, and the picture is unmistakable. F1's own CEO admits the sport nearly rewrote its rules for Verstappen. His own team just offered him an unprecedented exit clause-free contract through 2029. And the rival boss who keeps turning up on his holidays is openly refusing to rule out signing him. That's three different power centers in this sport: the governing body, his current team, and his most persistent suitor, all orbiting one driver at the same time. My honest read: Verstappen isn't just deciding where he wants to race next. Right now, he's arguably the single most powerful bargaining chip in the entire sport, and every party involved knows it. Some context that hasn't come up yet. This exact Sardinia scene, Wolff and Verstappen photographed together, partners included, right as speculation peaks played out in near-identical fashion during the 2025 summer break too, when Verstappen ultimately chose to stay at Red Bull rather than move. That earlier decision is reported to have come with its own flexibility clause, tied to how competitive the 2026 car turned out to be, which is part of why this year's situation carries so much more weight than a simple repeat photo would suggest. On the Mercedes side, Russell's own contract situation adds another layer. He's spoken publicly about wanting stability rather than upheaval, which is part of why Wolff has been careful to frame any Verstappen scenario as a some point down the line possibility rather than an active 2027 plan. And on the regulatory side, it's worth noting the rule changes Domenicali referenced are separate from the 2027 engine formula already agreed months ago. This was described as an additional, more recent push specifically tied to driver complaints, not the previously scheduled update. So here's where all four stories actually leave us. The sport bent toward him. His team is offering him a deal built to keep him. His most obvious alternative won't rule him out. And it's all happening in the same 2-week break. My take, for what it's worth, none of this guarantees Verstappen goes anywhere. But it tells you plainly that every major power in this sport is currently negotiating around him, not the other way around. Whatever he decides, it won't be made in a vacuum. It'll be made with F1, Red Bull, and Mercedes all watching the same photos we just watched. We'll keep tracking every one of these threads as the break continues. Smash that hype button, subscribe, and we'll see you at the next one.